Hey, Coach. So happy you found us on YouTube. I'm in my happy place here in my gym. A couple things. First of all, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a 5-star review. Make sure you leave a thumbs up. That little bell up above will give you notifications because we put something up every day on YouTube. If you're looking to take your coaching to the next level, let us help you out. Let me help you put some pictures on the wall. Fill the banner up like we have at teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. 14-day free trial while it lasts. You will not be disappointed.
Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Youth Hoops. I'm your host, Coach Bill. Today we have a guest, Sean Valentine, Bay Area native. We don't have too many Bay Area natives on the phone. So, Sean, welcome to the show. Thanks for showing up today.
Thank you, sir. How you
I
doing?
love your background too. It's right, very fitting. Okay. But I
What
just noticed your hat.
I know,
I'm so confused right
I
now.
know, I know. It does that, and then what I thought immediately when you introduced me as Bay Native. I mean, I have been here for about 15, 16 years
Yeah.
now, but I am from the Bronx, and so
Okay.
you will catch me with a Yankee hat on or
Okay,
two.
now it makes sense. There we go. Well, I grew up in Wisconsin and I'm all over the board. So definitely diehard Packers fan.
Badgers.
Love the Badgers.
Okay, okay,
And
okay.
but I've rooted for the Giants uh and the Warriors. So, yeah.
There it is. I say that the Giants and the Dodgers are my cousins.
Mm,
They're all from New
mm.
York,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. It's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all
Well,
winners.
Sean, tell us who is Sean? And then we'll dive into what you're working on and how it's relevant to, coaches definitely need to pay attention to this one because you're definitely creating something that our youth need.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am Sean Valentine. I've spent the last 10 years in youth development. I work for an organization called the Hidden Genius Project. We trained and mentored Black male youth in technology creation, entrepreneurship, and leadership skills to transform their lives and communities. I'm also a father of two youth athletes. And the combination of the work that I was doing in youth development and um, um, growing that with while watching youth sports, I've developed a platform called Strong Mind, Strong Performance. Um, it's a platform that exists to equip youth athletes, parents, and coaches with tools for confidence, resilience, and discipline building, helping athletes excel in sports and in life. It's very important to connect the combination between sports um, and mental wellness, and thought that this was a ripe time to bring that product to market.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned those two words, right time. Why now? Why is the subject What's going on with youth that now is the right time? What was different, say, 10 years ago versus now? Because this subject it's bubbling up, right? And we're hearing so much more about connecting the two. Is it now that we have more understanding about how they're connected? We just didn't focus on it before. It was all about the physical performance. Not that we didn't focus, you know where I'm going with that.
I do,
There
I
was
do, I
some
do.
mental performance stuff always going on, but not.
I,
We've
I
taken it to a different level now.
for sure. I believe it's just the access to information.
Okay.
I think that you go over the last 10 years, access to information through the phone, and then now, um, well, that's the first part, right? Access to information has been more accessible. I
Hmm.
think we now have the words, and we're a generation of folks that are more comfortable with talking about that that portion of our life.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so you mix the two, right? The readiness, the openness of the population or the generation, and then you make the information more accessible. I think that has created this buzz and or acceptance in and around the subject that makes today, again, the best time versus 20 years ago when it wasn't, cool to talk about, or, 10 years ago when, not everyone had access to um, smartphones. 10 years
Right.
ago, yeah, yeah.
So then, you talk about confidence and and I was laughing in my head about, man, if I went home after one of my basketball games and said, "Hey, Dad, I need to work," or Mom, I need to work on my confidence, right? Or I need to have training in confidence, right? I could imagine the conversation when my mom or dad would say, I'll show you confidence, one of those types of things, right? Go out and play. And I say that because it wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't a subject, it wasn't part of the training, especially in your age group too. What you're focused on is a 13 to 18-year-old.
Yes.
Eh, We probably had it at the pros, and there was some training there. Of course, you did, but now we're coming down market with that 13 to 18, giving them the tools. Are we, you talked about the right time, but are we overdoing it? Are we trying to take these kids and turn them into professionals now? Is there something bigger going on? Did COVID affect a lot of this too? And you know,
I think this is a counter to the the swing around, building on the physical, right?
okay.
We saw Tiger Woods. We saw Venus and Serena.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even you can go back to Andre Agassi, where their parents early and often were trying to go after that 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and we realized that
Yeah.
going after that 10,000 hours early had some great effects on some folks, and then and a lot of folks burnt out. um,
Mm-hmm.
Yet, if we were to invest that same mindset into the power of the mind for the youth,
Mm-hmm.
and giving them access to the skills that, executives, C-suite professionals use, executive coaches around their
Mm.
leadership, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if we find that it's worth the investment for our top five, for Forbes 500 CEOs, then why why wouldn't it be the time to give it to our children early so that they can have the confidence before life's shifts happen to them? I had this had this happening to me. I watched my daughter do a set of hurdles. I think it was like 100-meter, 110-meter, and she fell in front of me. And then it was tough, but then she got up and she finished the race. And the thing about, mental toughness and mental strengthening and having the confidence in these tools is, life is going to give you these hurdles, right? But do we
Mm-hmm.
have the mental fortitude to keep getting back up and finishing? And that's why we put them into sports. We put them into sports so that they can pick up these virtues that
Yeah.
that we believe in, right? But the physical can't be the determinant to whether or not they are mentally ready. And so we have to spend time with them, making sure that there's a balance. So your question, like, why is it too much? No, just given how they're stimulated in these other fashions in their life, like,
Mm-hmm.
we need to make sure that we're not missing this opportunity to build them in a way that's going to be effective on and off the court.
So tell me then and I loved your example of, executive coaching, right? And I can imagine some people are saying now, oh, well, yeah, that's, executive coaching. What? Like we're treating them like adults, but I know you have a different approach to it. I love that
Yeah,
example though of framing it. So tell us what the program is. What do you do to help a 13-year-old build their confidence?
awesome, great question. So it's in three steps, right?
Mm.
The first step is we give the student the assessment. There's 50 questions in the assessment. Each question is tied to a domain, such as emotional regulation, performance mindset, concentration. It's about eight of them. And so once the assessment is done, the student has told us about how they feel about their strengths or their growth opportunities in these eight different areas. From there, we determine if the student or family wants to utilize our platform, which builds 12 sessions of content in and around those strengths and growth opportunities, or the student and the family can utilize one of the coaches on our platform to facilitate the conversation and the sessions with the student.
Mhm.
Once the 12 sessions are done, we give the student a post assessment just to measure the growth in those eight domains.
And typically, what's the length of time you're talking about?
About 12 weeks.
Okay.
So a session a week. You work on a certain attribute, put it to practice for the week. You know, see if you can just observe any noticeable differences or um, yeah, any noticeable differences. But it's not just to practice for the week. These steps are to cultivate a routine for yourself that you can utilize in any um, uh, uh, performance needing it situation, whether it's a test, a job interview, um, relationships, or again on and off the field. Um, it'll allow the student to put these learnings into practice in these places. And so that, just like working on your left hand layup, the more time you spend on that left hand layup, the more chances of a positive outcome when it's time for you to utilize it in a game. And similarly with this content, by giving the student content that's uniquely aligned to their constitution, it allows them to strengthen these areas, these growth areas, um, and lean into their areas of strength.
And what is the hope or the hopeful outcome on the performance in the sport?
Mm, mm. I think this would allow us to be more objective with what we see in terms of the physical. And so you and I were talking earlier about, athletes missing layups and not getting back on defense, right? Or here's the other one, making the layup and not getting back on defense for, celebrating. And
Mhm.
in that, they both add up to emotional regulation, right? And so now what we're seeing, right, you can see some false
Excuse me.
positives. Sometimes there's false positives inside of the physical. And so now we have, rather than so much subjective information in the physical, we can really tell the growth of a student through their growth in these domains that's more objective and aligning with the student athletes' beliefs about themselves.
And if you were going to take a cross section of the athletes that you're, looking at and, what's driving you, the drive behind even doing the business, what do you, what's the, like, what's the issue, the core of the issue that you're seeing they're having?
There's a gap between community, the engagement in community.
Uh-huh.
Years ago, your parents, you'd have these talks with your parents, or not, but you went to the coach, and then you had a tighter relationship with your coach. Um, and then the coach would then be able to go back and talk to your parent, and that's
Mhm.
how we raised our children. With the economicizing of youth sports, um, it's taken away the incentivization of community, and this the intended. unintended a result of this is we're bridging back community. And in a time when kids are escaping into their technology, in a time when parents, coaches feel more distant between themselves and children, um, unlike any other time in life, by giving the families, the coaches, this tool to connect around, I believe that not only will we make better people, but we will make better communities, more communicative communities,
Mm.
communities that have language, shared language, um, to align on shared, outcomes and goals.
So that thinking about that communication piece and the curriculum, the coach initiates this, correct? With their team, or can. A parent, I suppose, could too, right? But a coach initiates this with their team.
Mhm.
Does the is the coach involved in the assessment or in the results of the results, so he understands maybe it doesn't have individuals information, but it maybe has the team information? And then how can he put that to use of what he's learning about his kids? Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question. I use the Google Classroom as an example,
Okay.
and a teacher, right? We'll use teacher and coach interchangeably, right? And student and athletes interchangeably. So I'm a teacher, right? I go to Google Classroom. I see, a list of all the students in my class.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Mm-hmm.
may click on that student, and then I can open up that profile of that student and see where their results, their last test results,
Yeah.
where they are, if they've submitted their homework assignment. So similarly, our dashboard for coaches, right, will look, they would be able to see all of the athletes on their team that signed up. And then based upon their relationship with the in terms of facilitation. I have parents that want to do the facilitation on their own, and then I have parents who pay the coach to do the facilitation
Mm.
in that regard. So both the parent and the coach can see, the results of the assessment in the form of a report. Both the parents and coach can see the recommended 12 sessions. I'll say 12 weeks, 12 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can see where the student is on each of those sessions. Each of those sessions come with facilitator notes. And so the coach or parent can both see, what content was in the lesson, how the lesson was delivered, and any homework assignments and the progress that the student can make or is making, throughout the process.
Can you give us an example of one of the sessions that a student would do?
Oh, that's a great. I feel like I have one up real quick. One of the sessions, let's see, harnessing the power of harnessing the power of mental strength in sports. The goals of that workshop was understanding the power of the mind in sports, building emotional intelligence, and cultivating stress resilience. Um, First question is, the mind and body are interlinked,
Mm-hmm.
which influences performance in sports, right? So the question, how do you think your mind can affect your performance? And then you sit back and you encourage the student to go in depth about what they believe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so by starting the conversation right with this, overview, right? That one, that the mind and body are linked, then getting them to talk about it so that they are aligning with the definition of what we're talking about through stories about themselves. So each of these slides I'm gonna go through, or yeah, each of these slides I'm gonna go through is going to ask them back about aligning with the statement. So this next slide, the visual is you have Venus, you have Michael Jordan, and you have Muhammad Ali. um, Venus used reframing, reframing challenges as opportunities. Michael Jordan practiced um, a diaphragmatic breathing to reduce
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. And then, of course, Muhammad Ali was the most positive talker, self-talker in the world, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so you go back to the student and you say, can you imagine an athlete who uses, this effectively? Which one of the athletes in their mind? And then, my son, he's from Oakland, so he's going to say Steph Curry, he does the drills, he does the physical thing,
Yeah.
um, LeBron James uses Calm, the Calm app. And so how, getting them to understand that not only that this exists, but they've seen others do well utilizing it, right?
Yeah.
And so now coming back to them, when have you had to utilize one of these tools to ensure your performance and ensure your performance? And again, the
Hmm.
whole time is ask, listen, celebrate.
Okay, so then the requirement, so to speak, for the student is to go through these 12 sessions over a 12-week period of time about. The
Mhm.
coach can see and review the sessions. Are there, are you encouraging discussion between coach and team, coach and student, or is it really just about the one-on-one with the assessment the student has with the assessment and
So again, on the after the assessment, the family can choose to do this one to one,
Mhm.
and then in that, the coach should be prompted to ask questions. They have the questions, they have the content, access to the questions and the content. So
Yeah.
by all means, the coach is asked to after every 4 weeks, week 4, week 8, and week 12, the coach and the family is responsible for submitting feedback. It's about 4 questions, just to talk about, click on any of these domains that they're excelling at, and any of them that there's opportunity for growth, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
let me know any special event that happened that aligns with what you've seen. um, and then from there, right, if as a coach, if I'm not facilitating, I'm observing through practice, you
Yeah.
know, and now I have something, not just them finishing or them ta- them finishing or shooting well that day. I can look deeper into the student and how they're in their performance and how they're showing up. And then now I have the language to talk to the parent about what I saw. And we have this common language to use. So going back to that triangulation and creating that community, but at large, because of each individual student is growing in their confidence in their different perspectives, what it should do for a team is you should see the team energy bubbling in a positive way in and around this activity
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's doing it.
Yeah. And the one question that keeps on kind of just floating in my head as you're talking about this is again, confidence when we were growing up was you practice, you got better, that built your confidence, right? And then you
Mhm.
can go on to other challenges and things.
Mhm.
Again, you're you're taking you're taking this idea of you're taking it as a separate curriculum, just like I'm adding layup drills and or offensive drills and everything else, layering it on top of and it's a thing that I do now as part of my practice plan, so to speak. It's if I'm
Mhm.
going to be a great athlete or just an average athlete even, it's now part of the curriculum. Why again? Why isn't the sport enough to teach the confidence and that we have to pull this out as a separate court, let's call it a module, a drill, so to speak, part of that curriculum that we teach.
Mhm. I think it's just being intentional. When we think of
Hmm.
we're being intentional with the time. you can say that just like that about a layup drill. Like,
Hmm.
why do I need to do a layup drill when you can do layups in the game or during practice? But
Hmm.
there's a deeper intentionality. You know the value of perfecting that and becoming proficient in that. And so
Hmm.
similar with the mind, like we can tell, you can yell, but the thing about this is what we know as, if you have been around more than two kids in your life, you know that all people are different. They're all different.
They're all different for
And
sure.
and so trying to blanket this lesson would be, um I'd say it'd be inappropriate to just
Mm,
blanket a lesson like this and say that everybody's going to pick it up the same way when we know that each of them are different. And
yeah.
we're talking about the constitution of that person, right? We're not just talking about like, oh, they're all, 5'8". You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
that it's not that kind of party. And so if
Right.
I'm trying to be
Yeah,
effective, and then just step back, why are parents invested in sport?
yeah.
It's truly because they're trying to use the sport to teach these values that they appreciate, and they may have learned it through sport,
Mm,
right? And so this is just it. So you're aligning the confidence. Every parent will will take a confident kid who misses layups, right? And I will
yeah.
take another layup versus a kid who they can make it. We know they can make it, but they're scared. They just don't have the heart to shoot it. And if they miss this one, then they fall apart. Like, what we're trying to build is strong individuals that can, withstand the obstacles of life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what the sport is about. But this part
Hmm.
is, to your point, is being as granular and intentional as making sure that you stretch before
Mm,
we play, or we have
yeah.
like
Hmm.
post what recovery treatment, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
your mind has to be there as well in order for any of those things to work in a manner
Yeah.
that'll be productive for you.
And nutrition,
And
right?
nutrition is another
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
Before there was no nutrition, I remember
There's no
watching Hulk
nutrition. Yeah.
Hogan drink like 4 or 5 egg yolks and milk and just getting a stomach ache trying it. There was no rhyme or
Yeah.
reason. I didn't know no one know what they was doing. But now, right, we're
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
intentional about carb loading and all this stuff, right?
Yeah. And I look at these as they're all dials, right? Of, you're tuning that athlete. And you just like, again, if we spend 100% of the time, us growing up, on in practice on drills, right? Now we're saying, well, drills are great and we have to learn the skills of the game. But okay, now we got to make room for nutrition. We got to make room for the mental performance, because together that's going to raise us as a team and raise us as an individual.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if you listen to the podcast for a while, we talk about, again, I teach well, it's a high school, but my focus is kind of eighth grade and below through my AAU program. And we break up the game into two parts just for simplicity's sake. But the one of those parts is the game in your head. And we coach the game in your head and we focus on the game in your head because that's the biggest opponent you face, right? On and off, in this case, basketball, the court,
Hmm.
right? And if we don't have a strong mind, right, there's things that happen in a young adult we didn't even talk about. You briefly mentioned it, but at that 13-year-old, it's like the drop off, right, in participation is steep, right? They get burned out, or they don't feel confident, or whatever the reason is. Then some of them, they just say, I'm just done. Like my daughter, she tried everything, and she narrowed it down into the sports that she liked, two of them at the time, right? And she was done with the other ones. Okay, great,
Hmm.
right? Um, but the the mental, and we've had several conversations on the podcast about the mental side of the game, and it really is important piece that totally agree, it's becoming highlighted a lot more because we know a lot more,
Mhm.
right? And we know how much it can affect a player on the field because it was like that. Oh, no, the reason you're not good was because you didn't get your 10,000 hours in or
Mhm.
8,000 hours, right?
Mhm.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, maybe that's not so true. Maybe it was because you didn't have your mind tuned as you needed to. You know what
You
I
know,
mean? So,
yeah.
yeah.
Life starts to happen, and you have to learn how to bucket things, right?
Hmm.
Or you don't have to be a superhero all the time.
Hmm.
You can have your switch routine.
Yeah.
I tell kids all the time, Clark Kent doesn't ride around with his cape out all day. He
Yeah.
goes into this to the phone booth, and
Yeah.
then he takes his glasses off, and then he becomes, you know, a Superman.
Yeah.
Like that's and teaching kids about that type of
Do they
regulation.
ask you who Superman is, though? Ben?
Sometimes, I mean, they
Or,
got the new
Coach, what
movie.
is
They
it?
just
What
got the
is
new
it?
movie. They
What's
got
a
the new
phone
movie.
booth?
What's a phone booth?
Right.
What's a
Yeah.
phone booth? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just it.
Uh,
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you inviting me on to the space.
yeah.
And
Where can
thank you
people
so
find
much.
you, Sean?
Strongmindstrongperformance.com.
Okay.
If you got any questions, please reach out at info@strongmindstrongperformance.com.
And we'll
Um,
put that in the show notes as well, of course.
and I'm on, and then you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, Sean, we appreciate you and we appreciate what you're doing for the youth. Keep it up, and happy to support any way we can. And coaches, go check out Sean's website. Look in the show notes if you're interested in the mental side of the game. Sean, thank you. We appreciate you.
pleasure, Bill. Have a good one.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Hey coach, sitting here, I hope you enjoyed that video. Nothing better than sitting in an empty gym. Let me know how I can help you become a better basketball coach. Go over and check out, subscribe and like. You'll get notifications on all of these. And let me know if I can help you put one of these on your wall or with your youth program or wherever you are. So go over, check it out, teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.